So you have Julia Potts, illustrator, animator,
Mm-hmm.
English.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you choose an English voice?
I don't know if I chose an English voice as much as I chose Julia. I think I had her in mind from the beginning. My niece came first. The little girl is my niece. She was 4 years old when I recorded her, and she's Scottish. But I didn't think it mattered to stick with accents because these are clones and they could be raised anywhere. And Julia has been a friend for a long time. She's an animator herself. She's brilliant. She had never acted before. But she's got a great voice. She's just got a really solid voice, and she's funny. That was the main thing in just life and hanging out. She's a funny girl, and that is more important to me than acting experience because she's got comic timing and she has delivery. And so we recorded her lines in I think we just got it all done in 2 days. And I directed her. I had to direct her very little. I think we had one discussion about her character, and I basically said, you're like Mary Poppins, but with part of your brain missing. like you're showing this little girl these things, these beautiful places, but you have no empathy. There's just no empathy. And she just nailed it. She's so good in this. I have to say.
And with your niece, because you had to do some slide recordings to kind of get that naturalistic style with her. Did you start out with an idea of scripting it and then it ended up being something else?
I probably did. Like I said, my niece is Scottish. She lives in Edinburgh, and I live in Texas, and so I only get to see her once a year, if that, when we all get together for the holidays. And I knew I needed a little girl voice, and I knew that I didn't want to fake it. I didn't want an actor, an adult, doing a cartoony child voice because it never sounds right. And there's a purity to when you speak to a 4-year-old. It's really different than obviously speaking to an adult or there's something there. There's something that you cannot simulate. And I wanted, I didn't want. There's some lines you can't tell what she's saying, and that's the experience of talking to a 4-year-old. And but I wasn't sure how, what I could get out of her. And when we hung out, I did probably naively think I could direct her, and say, can you say this? What if we said? But it's fake. She's become self-conscious. It's not right. It doesn't sound right. And so what I did was I got an app for my aforementioned iPad that could record in reasonably high quality. And so I just had it there while we drew pictures together, while we talked about the world, we played with clay. And from that session, I was able to take things out and create a character. And so I had the script. I had these things I knew they wanted. I knew I wanted them to go see and do. And so then I had what I had of her. And it's like, okay, well, what could she be looking at when she says this? I have a clean take of her saying this. What is that? And one of the magical things that you'll never know about the movie was the sound editing, because as she's saying everything, she's kicking the table, she's scribbling with crayons, and there's ambient noises. And so there was tons of microscopic surgery in just the audio to make it clean, and then to obviously make it jive with what Julia's saying. So it was interesting, and kind of a fun puzzle. It sounds like kind of a hard way to make a film, but to me it was almost a load off, because as a writer, suddenly I don't have to come up with everything, and here's a little character it's sort of like working with an improvisational actor who's a little bit insane. You don't know what she's gonna say, how it's gonna work, but this is all you have, because I could not go to Scotland and get more. I had to make the film work with these sessions, and that was a fun challenge. And And
Did you work with her and then you went to Julia with the responses?
Right, exactly. I had Winona first, and then I knew I had something, and from that I could build a conversation. So, and then it guided the film a little bit too, in little ways. Like for instance, when she says, "Simon," that is the name of one of my mother's cats, and he was just walking by, and so she's like, "Simon." So that became the name of the monster, just because it was a clean take. So there's just little moments like that that just, you find a way to weave them in and be seamless. I didn't want it to look like every other CG film. And I mean, I knew it wouldn't because I wasn't good at what I was doing. But I wanted it to look like a children's book because it's, from her point of view. And so everything I wanted to be very colorful and flat and minimal textures. I was doing things very naively that shouldn't have been done in Photoshop or Final Cut. There are when she's flying away in the sunset on that craft that's made of wireframe. That's a glitch. And it first appeared in the Simpsons bit where there were these futuristic creatures, and she says, "I will never forget you," and it's like snowing, and there's these weird wireframes flashing in the background. I don't know what I was doing, but I did something that I believe Final Cut hated, and it just turned everything into this wireframe madness. And nothing would play, and it was glitching and freezing out. But I loved the way it looked, so I did a bunch of frame captures. And so I got those wireframe weird glitch sculptures from those frame captures. I put them back in. And so they first appeared in The Simpsons, and then I just kind of, from that I crafted them and built a little spaceship for them out of that too. Most of it is experiments like that, where I'm just playing with filters and layers and things, and then Final Cut says, "What are you doing?" And it looks like that.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean it's a bit like the experimental stuff with film. Only you just keep throwing lights, and with It's Such a Beautiful Day, it was a lot of intentional light leaks and color filters and flashlights under the lens and shooting through magnifying glasses and just sort of a sense of I don't know what I want it to look like yet, but I know when I get there. And digitally, it's a little harder to do that. You just have to, kind of bend the rules a little bit and break the software. It never felt intimidating. Thankfully, it never felt. I never felt the pressure, and I was really relieved and surprised about that because it felt so much like working on just one of my own things at home. I never had to go pitch and sweat, and because they're just a bunch of nerdy, cool art dudes, and the process was very simple. They said, send us a pitch, and if we like it, send us a storyboard and animatic. And I sent them the pitch, and it was like a paragraph of, how do you describe this? Most of my stuff doesn't work on the page. It's an energy you have to see. But to their credit, they were like, "Oh, okay, and then I don't know if I even gave them much by way of storyboards. I boarded the opening for them, obviously, but I was just kind of like, guys, I don't really do storyboards or animatics for myself. Can I just do it? And if you don't like it, I can change it." And they were like, "Cool, okay." And they really didn't have any notes, and it was meant to be shorter, and they let it be as long as it was. They actually reduced the time of that episode to make it fit. It was a dream. They were so cool.
So there was nothing they asked you to cut, or because there's some.
No, nothing they asked me to cut. The only thing was, I think Matt Groening wanted a little more of the Simpsons voices in there, and I was like, well, it's supposed to be after everyone's dead. It's supposed to be bad. It's supposed to be these bootleg voices, the characters' knockoffs. And we put a little of Marge back in there, you can hear Julie Kavanaugh's voice under mine, or on top of mine. And that was weird too, because I got her sessions where she's saying all animals can scream and all hail the Dark Lord of the Twin Moons. I kept thinking, like, poor woman.
I read somewhere there was talk of you were thinking, and maybe it's a bit early now, but were you thinking of doing a sequel to The World of Tomorrow?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, like I said, I don't see my niece more than once a year. And so I had recorded her that holiday season for World of Tomorrow, and that was kind of all I had. And then, so I figured, okay, well, that's that. And then I saw her the subsequent December, and she's 5. And I was like, well, I'll just record her again. You know, I mean, I didn't know what would happen the first time, so let's just see what I get. And so I did, and we kind of did the same, we played around and the same thing. And she's completely changed. Her voice is lower. No, she's just going from 4 to 5. Like at age 4, I mean, you listened to her. It's just like this wonder, just pure wonder at everything. Like, what's this? Look at that. And I remember we would take walks to the park, and it would take forever to get to the park. I mean, it's a 10-minute walk, but she would stop every few steps and say, "Look, clouds." And we'd go, and oh yeah, clouds. We'd go a little more, and there's like, "Look, a tree. Oh yeah, it's a tree." And you realize, like, this is all new to you, and like how amazing the world is. And it was like walking with a little Bill, you know, who's seeing the world for the first time. And so I really got a lot of mileage out of that because she's so reactive in those recordings, so I could have her reacting to things. When she's 5, suddenly she's directing me. And she'd be like, okay, now I'm a princess, you're a gorilla, we're in the ice cavern, and we have to rescue the little banana people, and like these long things. And so as far as the recording went, I was like, well, I can't really, what am I going to do with all that? I can't really use that because it's so much easier to work with, you know, reactions and little things. But I've been kind of thinking about it more. I'm finding a way. So we're circling. I may or may not be flying Julia back to Austin at some point. So it's interesting. You know, I didn't envision doing another, but maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Okay, watch this space.
Yeah, I mean
You better do it soon before she's like grown up.
I know, right? I mean, it'll be every year. It'll be like World of the Day After Tomorrow, you know, World of next week.